Hi everyone, my name is Sonia. I think it transitioned itself. I don't know. Yeah, it is transitioning by itself. Okay, well, we'll see what this does. But I'm a third year student here studying business as well as a minor in global health. And I've noticed kind of throughout the presentations today, everyone is focused on human-centered design, but everyone's also found some sort of intersection or some relevant application to their life that they've used. And so for me, that's really the intersection of design with bringing products in healthcare. So focusing on accessibility and affordability and really making sure the products that I'm bringing to market are user-centric or patient-centric. And so with that, the three classes that I took were design thinking, a master's class called needs and usability assessment, and then sociology of innovation and entrepreneurship. And I'll primarily be talking about the master's class. I think if it wasn't for this course thread, I wouldn't have taken the class, and that class definitely opened my eyes up to a lot of different opportunities. So the class primarily focused on really understanding your user and then developing products and enhancing products to make sure they cater to their needs. It's taught by a professor who works part-time at Salesforce in their UI team and just recently got or moved to Google. And so having that kind of industry exposure was what really kind of showed the entire class that, you know, doing things like interviews and taking some of the more time-consuming steps like surveys and talking to users really does make a difference in the day-to-day and in the product iteration cycle. And my first aha moment when I came to that class was when he told us this quote, I believe in the first day of class. And he said, you know, Henry Ford once said, if I had asked people what they wanted, they would have said faster horses. And at first you think, okay, yes, like if you asked me back in, you know, before cars were invented, what I would have wanted, I probably would have been faster horses. But now, you know, decades later from there, we know that the solution wasn't really faster horses, it was really just building cars and coming up with a whole new invention. And so throughout the class, this kind of became the perspective that I took, and really understanding that yes, asking users what they want is important. Doing those studies and going through research methodologies is important. But also, you have to take it with a grain of salt, and you really have to understand the perspective users are coming from. You know, they know what they want, but they might not necessarily know what they need, or vice versa. And so when they do kind of tell you their different pain points, you have to take them a little bit more objectively or understand them in context, rather than saying, oh, well, you know, they want faster horses, let's just give them faster horses. So from there, I've been able to apply this class, as well as the other two classes, a little bit more in my life as a student and in the industry. So last summer, I worked as a product management intern at here.com. Which was kind of interesting for me because it tied in the elements of working on the business sides of things, helping out with the design, as well as working on a product that was more healthcare in nature. So here.com is a global hearing aid distributor, which means they have their own hearing aid that they do sell, but they also sell about 90% of the other hearing aids on the market. And you're working with a very interesting demographic that, you know, might not want hearing aids, you know, either because they can't afford it or because they're resistant to the idea of needing one. So how do you really employ UI to cater to that audience? Further, a lot of these individuals aren't necessarily very comfortable with going on a website, making a couple $1,000 purchase, and might not understand the needs of why they would want this product. So really had the opportunity here working directly under the VP of product, doing a lot of user testing and offering product recommendations. Got to almost completely revamp their website, hold a focus group, and do a lot of these user studies, bringing a culture of user research to the company. What had happened was after the company was about 15 years old now, and they have a really solid product and offering, and because of that, all the upper management level was very set in stone with the process in which they were doing things. You know, they would come up with an idea, do the product launch, move on, and the same process every single time. And after talking to users, I realized the biggest issue was in that process. So a lot of times there were things on the website that users were like, yeah, this is, you know, an immediate no-go for me. If I, you know, because I see this, I would not purchase off of your website. And so I brought it up to my boss and I said, hey, all these users are raising concerns. I think these are some changes you might want to make. And my boss said, well, we've done user studies. We know that actually is not a good idea to put on our website, but the upper management says that this is the way things are and they're kind of hesitant to changing it, so we're just going to keep it. So I talked to a couple other UI individuals working in the company and they said, it's the same thing. Every time we bring up an idea, they kind of just shut us down and say, no, this is how things have always been done. This is how they're going to continue being done. So I really had the opportunity of, through hosting focus groups and interviews and doing some of those calls, I had a couple of the upper management and had the person who founded the company as well as some of the other vice presidents fly in from different global offices to attend the focus group that I organized. And when they sat down and really had conversations with users in a room almost, a little bit smaller than this size actually, they saw these problems for themselves, and now they've started to host focus groups as well as continue to do user research on a more monthly basis. So I think bringing that culture of the importance of understanding your user and developing products, keeping the user's needs and wants in mind is what I really got to bring, and I wouldn't have been able to do that without this certificate. Other than that, I think something that's more applicable and important in the broad scope of design, healthcare, and business is as I was doing all this user research and collecting the data, there were massive spreadsheets where I was recording it. And one day I just realized one of the spreadsheet columns in Salesforce said, oh, like this column is, or this row is no longer valid. This customer has passed away. And I realized, working in healthcare, when we're working on these spreadsheets, a lot of times we take these numbers for what they are and we look at them in the big picture of things. But we tend to forget that every single number on that spreadsheet is a human life, and it should be thought of that way. So that's what really kind of grounded in me why user design and research is important, and why I'm, another reason why I'm super passionate about working at the intersection of healthcare. So with that, some of my future plans, I'll be moving on into the summer working in strategy consulting. I think this will give me the opportunity to really work on fast-paced products, making recommendations, but always making sure that I am taking a step back and keeping the user in mind as I do so. I think in general, understanding the implications the product and service has on the consumer is important. As technology progresses, I think a lot of times we tend to forget what kinds of implications that technology might have on society in general. So keeping that big picture in mind. And of course, developing solutions using design thinking to serve customer needs. So thank you.